Why didn't they just use shields in WW1? Guns pretty much made shields irrelevant. Not like a knight shield, but say a big wooden wall on wheel strids, slap some metal on the front and push. This is just a shitty non-motorized version of a tank, which were invented and used near the end of war. Bullets weren't the big killer in WW1. Artillery was. Outside trenches, shrapnel shells shredded infantry. Wood would be useless against shrapnel. Earth is needed to stop it. Also, such shield would be impossible to move over WW1 battlefield, it would just get stuck in dirt. A World War I battlefield was full of craters, mud, barbed wire, mines, dead bodies, blood and water, animal carcasses, trees, brush, and so on. Even if your proto-tank idea could stop bullets, no way that thing could get through no man's land. It would also be ridiculously expensive to build and maintain one for everyone. It would also be easy to lob some incendiary artillery right behind it, protecting the enemy, but not you. If you got the death sentence of having to charge across no man's land, you wanted to go as fast as you possibly could to minimize your exposure time. Two problems. 1. WW1 machine gun and rifle bullets were powerful. A rifle like the Springfield can punch through 12-inch steel plate, which weighs 20 pounds per square foot. The shield you're describing would weigh more than 200 pounds per person it protects. 2. The image of masses of men rushing into machine gun fire isn't really common in WW1. It did happen, but within a year of the war starting, everyone pretty knew that going over the top without masses of fire support would just be a slaughter. Okay, so let me get this straight. Your idea is to construct a massive heavy wooden slab on some kind of tread. This thing would weigh at least hundreds if not thousands of pounds and provide cover for a handful of troops. It would have to be constructed outside of the trenches, no heavy machinery to lift it out while under enemy fire. Then, once this heavy construction is done, it would have to be pushed across a muddy field by hand while being a sitting duck for enemy artillery fire. A regular machine gun with a decent rate of fire could probably chew through it in minutes, but we are going to push it for a quarter mile through obstacle-riddled mud? You were describing a tank. A tank. You were describing a tank. And they were first implemented in WW1 for this reason. They just weren't any good. You were forgetting barbed wire amongst a host of other issues, which would render your shield useless, as you wouldn't be able to push it through, as either the shield gets stuck in the wire, or the pushers do. Tanks were invented a means to overcome this, as they could drive over the barbed wire. If you ever get a chance to read Pierre Berton's book Vimy about the WW1 Battle of Vimy Ridge, do so, especially if you are Canadian. Book had a profound impact on me. I'm surprised nobody has mentioned the fact that they literally tried this. They were called personal shields :n.m.wikipedia.org wiki mobile personnel shield, and they didn't work. They were too heavy and cumbersome and wouldn't function on bad terrain. If it barely functioned for a single unit at such a small size, I don't see why they would even attempt to make a giant wood wall for a group of men. Mobility is a great thing to have in shootouts. You don't want some big-ass shield slowing even your hand movements. A good offense is good defense, and that would make it slightly harder to kill. The Russian tried to make a personal mobile shield in WW1. It was too heavy for personal use. Turns out, to stop bullet with a shield, you need it to be pretty thick, and to protect the soldier it need to be big. Combine both, and you get a big, heavy piece of metal that slows you down into a crawl in no man's land. In the event that it do works, they can just send artillery at your wall, which defeats its purpose. A tank is just that, but with better protection and better mobility, and it also packs quite a punch. Sure, anti-tank rifle and artillery exist, but an advancing tank acts like a shield for the following infantries on its rear. Mamas, why didn't you just hobble your boys to not serve in WW1? But say a big wooden wall on wheel strids, slap some metal on the front, and push. You're loosely describing a tank. They first made their appearance in WW1, and helped make the war more mobile again in the final year. They were pretty unreliable though, and broke down a lot. So tanks? They did use shields in WW1. The problem was that a shield that gave enough protection against WW1 era rifles and artillery was too heavy to be carried by hand, so they had to put engines on them to move them around. You may have heard about them, they were called tanks. You know bicycles, right? Now, well, just add a small motor, so you don't get tired. Of course, stability is difficult, so well, add another set of wheels. That also gives us space for an extra seat behind you, or next to you, or both, so you can like bike with 4 people. We should add a shield to prevent wind blowing in your face, a wind shield if you like. Make it transparent, like a window, otherwise you can't see, lol. Maybe add a roof so you don't have rain either. Side so you're not exposed. What do you mean, I invented a car? Congrats, that's called a manlet and has been around since medieval sieges. Unfortunately, the terrain isn't very conducive to its use when assaults across no man's land involve shell holes vs a nice hill up to a castle. It was hard enough moving yourself across to the enemy's trench, now bog yourself down with a giant splinter target, and watch as you die bogged down in your mobile coffin. Long story short, any shield capable of resisting bullets would be heavy and slow, which would make it a target for artillery, and if artillery impacts a shield, it becomes the murder shrapnel generator 3000. They were still enthralled with the cavalry charge,